Good morning. That was a very weak good morning. I thought Norwegians were very energetic people. So can we try once again? Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I feel I'm in Norway. I feel I'm a Viking now. Madam Minister, thank you so much for being here. The Honorable Madam Mayor, thank you for being here. And I believe somebody who's been deeply involved in the Parliament and representing all the parliamentarians is here. And I'm told the former Foreign Minister is here. Yeah, thank you so much. Distinguished leaders. I will not say ladies and gentlemen because each one is a leader. I don't like to make those distinctions. In the field that I work with, I often have this challenge because the religious landscape of the world is dominated by men. So oftentimes when I'm with women, they said, where are the women leaders? Maybe you all can inspire some of the religious leadership to recognize and include women a little more. Though behind the scenes, I must confess, there are hordes of women who support everything that the religious leaders do. And I know I wouldn't be able to do what I do, but for my wife, who's my biggest supporter and my biggest critic. I say this together because each one of us faces those things in our life. I say this because oftentimes when you come back from all these meetings and you go home, and suddenly she'll say in the middle of the night, darling, but you should not have done that. We have enough challenges wherever we are. And each one of us as a human being also seeks some recognition, some support, a little pat on the back, a little encouragement that, okay, you have challenges, but we can do something. But then she'll qualify it with saying, adversity helps build character. You cannot be a good sailor if the seas are smooth. You know a thing or two about marine life and all the sailing with all the things in this area. Similarly, when you transition from just your own domain and look at the world collectively, I don't look at the world as one big place. I think the world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, especially with all the innovation and technology. Things that separate us are far less than what brings us together, whether we like it or not, oftentimes. That's why I was very honored to be invited here today, and I applaud the board leadership here, and especially of my dear friend Bjorn Hogland, who I've had the honor of knowing for many years. And one thing which I think why I got included here was because of the book Next. You heard of that whole process. When DNVGL reached out and invited me, I was a little concerned. Why are these business people trying to include religion here? Is it again to bash religion, that you people are the people who are making trouble in the world? That you are not doing enough? And then I reflected, I said, I think I wish they do that. I like challenges. For me, I'm at that stage of my life. I no longer want to work with and meet with people only who agree with me. I am not interested in that anymore. I want to meet those who do not agree with me. Those who I have the ability to sit with and learn from, and perhaps say a thing or two which might make a difference. Oftentimes, as you know, in your own businesses, you have those issues. And I go to another part of the planet for this. I was in China, and you know, traditionally there have been a lot of differences with Korea and China and Japan because of the conflicts that had existed. Yet I saw a lot of business and trade between China and Korea and Japan. So I asked some of the leaders, I said, I thought you people hated each other. You had so much conflict. Yeah, true, That is different, but this is business. Because I know some other parts of the world. I come from that part originally, though for the last 25 years I'm in the USA. But I come from India, and I know in our culture, if there was a conflict difference, for generations you would not deal with them, you would not talk with them. I said, I like the Chinese here. They can put aside their differences when it's a common interest, for their interest. I learned something there. What we do at the World Council of Religious Leaders is not, we do not talk about religion. I do not want to discuss theology. By the way, people here in this country, mostly are Lutherans, I'm told, right? They follow the Church of Norway. Do you all follow any religion or no? Anybody? See, there's one brave lady who put up the hand. It takes a woman with courage. The reality in the world, reality, these are not my statistics. 90% of the world follows some religion or the other. 90%. This is a Pew poll from the USA. If 90% of the world follows some religion or the other, and the people who are the ones who they listen to are the ones excluded from the debate, are we missing something? You decide. When we started with DNVGL on this debate, I said, let me do my study. So I reached out to a cross-sector of religious leaders from different parts of the world, different religions, and said, how many of you know the issues of the climate control and environmental degradation and the challenges? You know what is the statistic that came back to us? Take a guess, anybody. How many people in the religious world you think know about these issues? Anybody venture to take a guess? No bold people here. 95% of the world's religious leaders do not have adequate knowledge of the issues of climate control or sustainable development. A majority of them do not even understand the meaning of sustainable development. Now, what does that mean? That, to me, was an opportunity. Here, these people clearly are some of the best communicators in the world, if they know the subject. So here was an opportunity I proposed to DNVGL. Let's embark on educating these people. Let's make the information region-specific, issue-specific, and engage the religious leaders on those issues. And let them mobilize the people within their own communities to see how they can build this as a global movement. Sitting here, all of us here, and the people that we mostly deal with, are the 1% of the elite of the world who have access to that information and knowledge, who do understand these things. But this cannot be resolved or solved till you make this a global movement. It has to become from the masses. Think of it. Any change that has come to the world is when you can mobilize public opinion. Right? So here, are we missing something by not reaching out and educating these people? Because these people, on a daily basis, when I talk about religious diplomacy, I'll shift to another side, is they are dealing with issues of conflict and problems in the life of families, in the life of the communities, on a daily basis. They know a thing or two on how to resolve these differences or these tensions. But yet they are no different from businesses. Each of you have your shareholders, your stockholders. The religious leaders also have the shareholders, the stockholders. Those are their congregations. If they cannot service them, provide them what they need, like your boards can suffer, you can suffer, they also can suffer. So the structure is not different. So all of us, in one way or the other, are serving our stockholders and the shareholders. Think of that. But yet, a lot of them still are not realizing what they can do to make a difference. Why I wanted to come here and share with you was, in my own journey with the leaders, what I found is that The desire is there. They are keen to do something. The knowledge is missing. And they are not ready to admit that they do not know. Because these are people you look up to. We assume that they know everything. But the fact is, a lot of them do not have adequate knowledge. So I present this to you all as an opportunity. Provide the means. Don't tell somebody they don't know. Sometimes it's also, a question of our ego and pride. So reach out by simple things, analyzing in a community something is needed, whatever little it may be. And get to your leaders, whoever they are. Bring the political and religious leaders together. Because religious leaders mobilize masses, the political leaders need the masses if they are to be elected. And you people thrive in a good, stable environment. So there's a common. Those are the three pillars of our religious diplomacy. I call it a three-legged stool. And a stool, why? Because the image that if one leg is unstable, the stool will fall. So these are the three critical sectors of society which need each other and must work together. So I say, reach out to them. Second, the part which I am struggling with, let me go back. I finished meeting with the supreme leader in Iran. I had had an opportunity to sit with him. And before I had gone there, some people had questioned me that, Bawa, these people have been calling for jihad and killing people. You're going to be sitting with the supreme leader. Ask him, what does he feel about this? So when I had a chance alone at the end, I asked him, I said, Excellency, may I ask you a question? And those of you who've been to Iran know that when you go there, we don't sit on these tables and chairs, we sit on the floor with the supreme leader. Very simple people. So we are sitting on the carpet on the floor, and I said, Excellency, may I ask you a question? He says, yeah, sure. There was a translator, and the translator was the vice president of the country, a woman. People don't know that women also play an enormously important role there. So, Excellency, I hear in the media, and the people have told me that you're constantly calling for a jihad. I don't know jihad. Can you tell me what's the meaning of jihad? You heard what the meaning of jihad as reported in the media. He got all excited. And I said, oh, here I go. I think I've said something. I said, okay, we'll see. But what he said after that stunned me. He says, the biggest jihad we have to launch is the jihad against those people who are destroying the environment. I said, what did you say? I said, I thought they were referring to going and killing people in the name of religion. He said, no, that's not the meaning of jihad. He's saying if the environment is not there and that's not sustained, none of us will exist. So I said, can I quote you? And I did, in the media. But the journalists, they always like to probe you. So then he asked me, the journalist there, he says, you meet with all these leaders, whether they're political or religious or others. What is your single greatest challenge dealing with people on these things? Maybe you know a thing or two of that, but my answer was just one word. I don't know whether it relates to you all. To my assessment, the single greatest obstacle in our way is ego. Take it at a political level. Look at what's happening in the Middle East today. It's threatening the entire world. And if you analyze deeply into it, now Norway knows a thing or two about this, because the Norwegians, by and large, are still credible. They are respected in the world. People still believe that, especially in the Middle East, that Norway is fair and Norway is not biased. He decided Norway wants to work for peace. This is my assessment when I talk to the people. And coming here, I want to relate it to you. But at the core of it is, their ego has been hurt. And in that culture, if your ego is hurt, you will sacrifice generations. You're not willing to see sense then. So to me, that was the greatest obstacle in our way. How do we get rid of that ego? Here is an opportunity now, going to the Middle East and to the leadership of Norway. You're thinking of the world, you know the situation that is happening. What is Norway willing to do? You have the world's wealthiest sovereign fund. Just on the issues of the environment, Madam Minister, a dear sister of mine who's a big environmentalist in the world is Dame Jain. She's the one who went around saving chimpanzees, but she has programs on environmental sustainability. She says, Bawa, please do me a favor. Raise this in Norway. Ask them, they have all the wealth. I'm not questioning where they got it from, what they did. What they can do is something that is possible. Look what's happening in the issues of the whaling and the marine things in Norway, or look at the oil and gas. Look around the world, the way the world is changing. Is Norway willing to take the leadership? I think some of your companies are. That's why DNVGL invited me. And I commended Henrik Madsen for his foresight, that taking those decisions which are not comfortable, or not fashionable, not in the mainstream, but they felt there was an influence that we could mobilize and reach out to the religious sector. Here, Bjorn is standing here and making a presentation. How many of the businesses actually say the religions are there as an opportunity to be the people who can solve the problem, who can be at least a part? Because remember, whatever challenges you face, they also face. They are human beings, as much as you and me. It's up to you to see whether you want to include them as being part of the solution or being part of the problem. Because the other side of the spectrum when we talk about conflict is 90% of the world's conflict is linked to or in the name of religion. The young lady Dia Khan is here. She comes from a faith of Islam. I've heard her story, touched me deeply. Because 99% of the Muslims of the world are peaceful, loving people. But yet the 1.5 billion people today around the world are judged primarily through the lens of terrorism and violence. Is that acceptable as a society? Not to me. I say the greatest challenge is for the Muslims themselves to change that perception and image and segregate those who are trying to destroy the religion in the name of God. I use this with you because I think the greatest leverages that can come to transform and change society is not from governments. It is from business leaders. You have the leverages and the power beyond anybody else. Just prior to coming here, I was in London at a small think tank talking about what business leaders can do. Oftentimes, your budgets far exceed the budgets of a country. You are in multiple countries, you have enormous influence, you hire people in all those parts. So you have leverages which are unique. And your decision-making process is much more efficient, as Madam Minister said, that she has to be patient trying to get something done in the government. But if the masses want it, the government has to react. Yes, Madam Minister? So I think if the people move you, you have to perform. Otherwise, they will not vote for you. You will be out. I think the business leaders do not understand or appreciate enough the amount of influence that they can exert. Last month, I was with the chairman and CEO of Nestle. I won't go into all that they have done wrong or what they should be doing. Who am I to judge? But I did raise this with them. I said, you looking all these problems, and this is where I come from, where I was leading into. You've heard of the social responsibility. I'm sure you all know that very well. And you've heard of the ethical leadership. Somehow, when the people I speak to, they look at social responsibility and ethical leadership as speaking from a platform above the others and preaching down upon them and telling them you are not doing something right. I said, let me try and change the dialogue a little bit. So I struggled, and what I have come up with is a concept I'm calling responsible leadership. So I ask you all, you be the judge. Is there a definition which can be universally accepted of responsible leadership? That you are engaged in socially responsible things, I think don't treat this as a favor you are doing to the society. Or ethical leadership is something that is morally higher than thou or holier than thou. To me, responsible leadership means that this is fundamentally what you must do. And on the issues of climate control, you heard Dr. Pachauri. There are 2,000 of the scientists coming out with these reports, but who's listening? 1% of the world. Even though the threats are clear, but people are still not listening. So is that responsible leadership? But I'm not able to judge. For instance, I see what the Prime Minister of Israel takes some decisions. He has 90% of the people behind him who fervently want him to do those things and more. But yet, when we look from the outside and the people I discuss with, they consider perhaps he could do something different and should do something different. So what is missing here? Information is there, knowledge is there, political will obviously is there. I think what is missing here is the future aspect, how this can impact you in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And that is where visionary leadership comes in. Now, Henrik Madsen, I believe, is not Norwegian, I'm told. He's Danish, right? And what I found unique with him was that he's a scientist. He says, I'm not a business leader. He's saying, after my CEO, I'm going to go back to science. So I think that gave him the ability to see things through a different lens. And he was bold enough to engage the different sectors. And I just talked to Dr. Pachauri. I said, as you're preparing for IPCC and the COP next year in Paris, can you include a combination of religious leaders and business leaders? And see if they can work together to make this as a global movement. He said, that's a good idea. I've heard that before. It's a good idea. Right? But what happens after that? That's the question, Please, don't mind what I'm going to say. This all the time happens with political leaders. You reach up to them, tell them this, you must do this. On your face, they'll tell you that's a good idea. I think maybe it may be different here. I hope it is. To your face, very rarely they will tell you, no. It's always a good idea. But then where's the follow-up? I raise this to you because you people can make them accountable. And we have to make each other accountable. Like you can make religious leaders accountable. Believe me, don't think that the religious leaders don't have problems or the challenges I face. My wife always tells me, when I met you, your hair was black. You become white in a few years. There's a lot of stress and strain. It's not easy to deal with religious leaders. Okay? I make this as a confession, It's not easy. But I think that's an enormous resource. I see that the good which is possible through engaging with them. And because it is challenging is why I'm engaged in that. By my background, I'm a businessman. 25 years ago, I was also a very successful young businessman. I left that suddenly because of the blessings of a teacher in my life. And it was overnight as a decision. I was very successful in India. I come from a business family. 25 years ago, he asked me to come to the USA. I thought I went there for 2 weeks because it was going to be an inauguration of a pilgrimage center in the Jains. My 2 weeks never finished. I never went back. I left my business overnight. I left it to my family, to the people after creating it. But I'm very happy with what I did. I would not have that opportunity with all the money that I was making there to try and understand, meet the people like you all here, and from more than 120 countries. We are working with youth from more than 100 countries to be able to talk to them, listen to them, to see if we can leave the world different from the way we inherited it. I think that to me is a responsible leadership. When you can think beyond yourself and beyond your time, make the decisions which are difficult, which are not convenient. As the CEO of Nestle told me, he says, one definition of responsible leadership could be make decisions out of conviction, not convenience. I like that. Oftentimes, our pressure on the shareholders is so much that you have to report quarterly what your profits are. You have to make sure that your balance sheets keep getting thicker and thicker, and profit keeps going up. But to what level and at what price? So I was very happy to hear, despite what they may do right or wrong, that the chairman, Peter Breback, says, Bawa, I do not report quarterly results to my shareholders. I said, that's interesting. Even though Wall Street says that the average retention of a share is 17 seconds, in 17 seconds the shares keep changing. But yet here this man is telling me that he doesn't declare anything for the whole year. And they're very profitable still. They have the money, they have the resources, so let's use it in a positive way. That's all I asked them. So I asked people here also coming here is, I'm not telling you which one. Pick a cause which you think and which you would like to invest in, which you'd like your children to also understand. Start building that from an early age. Get them knowledgeable of those issues. Make that the life pattern. That is not enough in the world, in our own life, to just go and make money. What is more important is what you're going to leave here. Because when we leave from here, you may be the richest, you may be the poorest, but everything is going to remain here. Nothing is going to go with you. People have thought they can take it with them. I have not found anybody. If you know a way, let me know, I can tell them a thing or two. But it's all going to remain here. And I say this to you because there's something unique to Norway about that. The only Nobel prize which is given here is the Peace Prize. But I'm sure some of you know. Do you know why Alfred Nobel created the Nobel Prizes? Anybody know why he created them? There was a reason he created them. One day, he woke up, and by mistake in the newspaper was printed his obituary. This man had died, according to the journalist. And what was written about him was all the weapons of mass destruction and the things that he had produced to destroy all life on the planet. He was horrified. He was horrified. He said, is this what people are going to remember me for? He said, I have to change that legacy. Today, when we look at Nobel and talk about the Nobel, anybody talk about all the weapons and all the dynamite and everything that they produced or they invented? No, we talk about aspiration of the highest ideals, highest recognition. For me, I said, that's a nice analogy. So I ask you all, imagine if after today all of you are going to die. I'm not saying you will. Just imagine. Imagine only that if today is the last day of your life, tomorrow you are no more, what do you most want to be remembered for? Reflect and see what people will remember you for. Are you happy with that? If good, wonderful. If not, then do something. Change. Bring in that change. And remember, you are doing this not just for yourself, but for your future generations. And one thing which I constantly give a shout out to, we constantly talk about innovation and technology and the youth and the next generations. Do one thing, please. Make a policy. 25% of your boards must be people under the age of 35. 65% of the world is under 35. If you truly want to empower and get them into the decision making, make 25% of your boards be the youth. Then you will see a fundamental change. They function very different from the way you and me think. At least I know that. I'm learning a lot. So to do with that, what we have done, and which I want to share with you all is, we are launching a program which we are calling Billion Mentors. The premise of that is that every one of us is a mentor. Look at your own lives. You're a mentor to somebody. You benefit from people in your life. So we want to change the DNA of thinking that everyone is a mentor. And that means you are a mentee also, that you're willing to learn, you're willing to share. So please, see if you would like to join that, support that, and inculcate the leadership of being a mentor. Businesses can make that possible very rapidly. In businesses, you always have somebody who's supporting you, who's helping you. In your political careers, always there's somebody who will look after you. In our own family life, we have that. So let's try and find ways to work together on that. And last I'll say is, for the Norwegians, please, You are the world's unique leaders. What you can do, a lot of the world still listens to. Whether it's your political leadership, business leadership, you can make a unique contribution to the world. Join people like DNVGL. There are other corporations here which I do not know of, but I know some very good people here. And I think that if we truly made a commitment to helping other people in the world, Norway will be a better place and the world will be a better place. I hope you can sincerely consider that. Ultimately, our job is to make a difference, leave the world a better place. Can we do that together? Thank you.